Okay, recording. We are recording again. I'm sorry we did not record the last one. I'm sure I bungled it somewhere. But now, real quick, how's everybody feeling about Sunday?
It's super crazy.
Yes, it
It's
is.
cray cray. It's like not like please don't call on me. I'm not like it's just I feel anxious just listening to you teach it. So
So, again, I keep saying this. What will happen is as you read regularly, you'll just see all these. Trying to just jam all the rules in your head does not work. But gaining a familiarity in your head, that means when you see Mahesha, you look and go, Mahesha. Oh, that's Maha and Isha. There's a long A and a little E in there. So what we're doing is getting the light grooves. This is like the first time that I quick drew out the alphabet and y'all went, what? And then we just kept working with it. With Sandhi, you just kind of get the basics under your belt. And then as you go, you can become really familiar with it and it becomes totally natural. But we don't really have this in English. Because of that, it's baffling when you first encounter it. It's not that we don't completely not have it. You heard my argument before of it's not dog, it's cats and dogs because ga and sa become a gz sound in English. Or when I say don't be stupid becomes don't be stupid. So we do have this in English in some manner, but not in the same manner. Um,
So
yeah,
it'll get easier is what you're saying.
it will become very natural, but where it'll really become difficult is when you are first starting to translate, which we're going to start doing in chapter 4. And that's when you have to be able to look at the Sanskrit and see the sandhis, but be able to break them in your head to know what actual words are there. Because unlike English, the words do not appear as clearly in Sanskrit as they do in English. But once you have a lot of experience with Sanskrit, it has an elegance and it has a comfort to it, to the point that if you try to read like a passage in Sanskrit and someone has broken the sandhis, you struggle. I was at a puja one time and an Indian woman didn't believe that that I knew Sanskrit. So she handed me her puja manual and it's all in Devanagari, right? But all the sandhis were broken. They put in little dashes between the parts of the words, and I just couldn't get my mouth around it. And I tried to explain, I'm like, if you just gave me the straight Devanagari, I'd be fine. With those little dashes in there, it just confuses the heck out of me. So this is like so many things, something you have to gain a little bit of familiarity with. So when you encounter it later, you can kind of reverse engineer it. So yes, it's difficult, but you're gonna get there.
Okay, so it's normal for me right now not to know what the hell's going on.
No, it shouldn't make any sense to you because we don't have this. We don't have this coherently. And it's like even as I'm looking at these and working through the kind of math on them, there's parts of this that I still forget about. So you need to have enough, and this is so true with first year Sanskrit. We're really just Dr. Williams and I for Sanskrit 1, as in, the reading through Goldman. So much of what we're doing is we're just introducing you to ideas so you can look them up later when you encounter them when you're reading in the wild. Okay. Can everybody see my screen? Come back, screen. All right. So here we have an exception. Nothing like an exception. How do I get it? All right. Anyway, so here we have an exception. And the exception is when, so much of blah, blah, blah. Okay. When you're looking at A, so E, as in this term, Swarge Indra. Indra is in heaven. You have Swarga. Swarga means heaven. Swarge, the A sound, which we'll learn later, is a locative. It's like saying in heaven, in Swarga. So because it's that A sound, A equals A plus E. One would think you'd get Swargyindra, but you do not. In this exception, the ya change drops before any non-A vowel. So your non-A vowel here is Indra. Swarge Indra becomes Swarga Indra. You would think it would be Swarga Yindra, but it is not, because that sounds bad. And to some degree, a lot of this is because that sounds bad. So when we look at the math here, we have Swarge, and then we have Indra. So here, Swarge in heaven. Now that's Swarg. Oh, it wouldn't let me do that. What? Oh, stupid jerks. Get this just right. Come on. No. Oh, anger. Yeah, that's right. So you have Swarg. Swarg. Okay, that's right. I don't want to confuse you more than you need to. Okay, so Swarg. So we're just taking that A off it. Now we know that A is actually an plus an E. So Swarga. So Swarg plus A means Swarg plus plus E plus Indra. Here, that E would turn into a ya, but in this specific case, when the ya would come before a non-A vowel, like E here, Indra, you get Swarga. So Swarga, the ya drops, the drops, and you get Swarga Indra. So it's just this here, you would want to put the ya in there. You thought you'd learned it, but it doesn't work before a non-E vowel. Let me admit something to you. I forget this rule all the time. And if you're looking at the sentence Swarge Indra, and it says like Swarge, so Swarga Indra, Swarga Indra Bhavati, that would be there is a heavenly Indra, not Indra is in heaven, because that A drops. So what do I need to remember here? If there's a non-short A, or if there's a non-initial vowel that is not an, if there is a non-A initial vowel, the from A in Swarge can be turned into an Guy Levitt gives the example of Agne Alaha, meaning put it in the fire. So that Agne, because there's a non-short A vowel, becomes Agna. The ya actually drops, the remains, Agna Alaha. I know this is weird. You will get there. All right. Come on. Come on. All right. So now we have some other examples. All right. I am going to go with Tessa. Can you read me this first one? This first pair here.
So I doubt it. Tasme.
Yes.
Adadat.
Yeah. Tasme adat or adadat. Adat. That's so hard to say. But this is adadat. There's a lot of reasons for that. It's a past tense. It's from the root da, which we saw before, which is to give. Now, this is similar to what we saw before. When you see tasmai here, we know that we have tasma, long A, plus an E, and then adada. adadat. So that tasma, you would see that E up there. Traditionally, you would turn into a ya. But here, you have a short That short drops the ya, and you get tasmai dot. I don't know if I like. Yeah, so you end up getting, so tasmai adat becomes tasma adat. This happens with long A plus any vowel, be that AI or any other vowel. So tasme plus any vowel, including the short Remember back here, this is only with the short. This is like anything before. This is any non-short A vowel. This one is any vowel. If you have that I sound and you have any vowel following it, this E that would become a ya drops and leaves off tasma adadat. So Guy Levitt has something different that I actually think is easier to remember. Bahvau plus eva. Bahvau is dual, and that means two, as in two wives. So Vandau or Vanda is wife. Vandvai. Oh no. Yes. So Vandvai plus Eva. Here the E would drop off, and you get Vandva Eva. I feel like I just keep saying the same thing over and over again, reading these examples out, and that I'm not making the argument clearly. And then I keep trying to think, how do I make this argument more clearly? And I just keep thinking, I'm like, you just get used to seeing this. So what I want you to be aware of is if you see a long A at the end of a word, and you see a vowel after that long A, it could possibly be that you have an AI behind it that's been hidden by the Sandhi. Luckily, these don't come up a lot. You just need to have some awareness on them. So Goldman makes this kind of point here that I think is really important. You will want to, when you're doing Sandhi, just apply it all the time. You'll think, okay, I've done my Sandhi rules, then I'm going to do them again. If I can apply it again, I should do it. You only do it once. You run Sandhi through for the initial and the final vowels, and then you don't do it again. This makes sense with exposure. And we'll see some examples here. Okay. We're getting close. All right. So we have already had this awagraha. And in that, we've seen that the is dropped in favor of that little S-looking thing. We've seen this in reading a bunch of times. So when reading, these words connect with no pause. Again, this is hard to explain, but easy when you hear it out loud. So te plus abruvan equals te bruvan. What's happening there? The long E drops the short after it. Why? Because it's more sonorous. So what you'll see here is when you see a long or an as in deve or vayo, also applies, you'll see that this short drops. Who remembers seeing this before? The short dropping and having that weird little S thing. I'm looking for a yes or no. Anyway, yes. We saw it in the Gita, right? So let's look at this example. Te plus abruvan. Again, you got to hear it. Te abruvan, te bruvan. Te abruvan, te bruvan. All right, let me have a volunteer to do this one. Read this phrase.
I'll volunteer.
Get in there, Bree.
It says pa para ta de.
Excellent. Yes, that's exactly what it is.
And then it says ava shat.
Of a sut. That's a sut.
Oh, sat.
Yeah, you got it. So this is actually a little Sanskrit phrase. So we know that the word India is not really found in Sanskrit. The word Bharat is. So Bharata. Bharata means India. Deshe. Desha means a place or a region, a country. It's from an earlier word named dig, which means a direction. So Bharat Deshe, and then the e sound is locative. So in the land of Bharat, or in the country of Bharat, and then avasat just means to live. So avasa. So actually no, this is the root vas, which means to dwell. So now, Bree, read me the second time.
After the arrow or
Yeah, after the arrow.
okay. Para Parata they they shay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm sorry, what does this S mean again? This S
Yeah,
symbol?
that's what we're getting at. And that's why I want to see where you're at. So that little S looking thing, that means that there's an sound that has been dropped and would not be pronounced. So you would see Bharat Deshe Vasat. It's Bharat Deshe Avasat, but Bharat Deshe Ava, that A gets in the way of your mouth. So they drop that short at the head of the sentence when it is preceded by that E sound. So Bharat Deshe Vasat.
Vashat.
Vasat.
Vasat.
Yeah, there you go. So Bharat Deshe Avasat becomes Bharat Deshe Vasat. Now, I put a little space in there. When you're reading this in Sanskrit, when you're reading on the page, you'll see that they'll connect these words together. So that little S thing that you're looking at there will connect to the word before it. So you'll actually see it'll look like one word, and you just read it together, Bharat Deshe Vasat. But when you're reading it, you should remember in your head that that little S sound is a short that's been dropped.
Okay.
Now, once again, Guy Levitt has easier examples. Deve, uppy. Deve means in like a divine place. So again, locative with that A. And uppy. Uppy means like but or and. So devepi. So if you remember that devepi is deve and uppy, you'll be good. If you remember that when you see that little S there, you remember that it stands for an and
I'm sorry. So you don't actually say it, you just
yes.
you don't say the short is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes, you don't actually say it. The short just drops off in the writing and in the stating. You straight up don't say it. So here in the Guy Levitt examples, we'll see deve plus uppy, devepi. So it's like and you see uppy like this a lot. Uppy regularly gets that dropped, obviously when it comes after an E, after that E sound. So devepi. Or vayo means like a bird, and atra means over here. So vayo, atra would be vayotra. So that short drops in the writing and in the speaking. So when you're reading, you don't pronounce that little S thing. That's just a placeholder to show you that there is a shortened there. All right, here are some exceptions. Pragrihya, gri, from that Sanskrit root we saw before, to grasp. Pragrihya means don't use sandhi. So here are some rules for when to not use sandhi. So in the dual endings of E, U, and A, which we will learn about what that means in a bit, long I and long I when you're dealing with a pronoun called ami, and vowels of interjection, ha, hey, or bo. Hey, Brahman. Hey, Arjuna. Ha, Arjuna. Ho, Krishna. These are another one set of them that you will just kind of, we're giving you these so you understand them, but these aren't going to be a huge problem for you as you go along. So you have dve, kanye, agachataha. So dve, kanye, agachataha. So those are both, what we have there is those are both in the dual, and in your duals, yeah, the sandhi doesn't apply. So dve, kanya, not Dvaya Kanya or something like that. Then we have He Aryaputra. So this is one thing to remember. When there's an interjective particle, the most common are He, Ha, or Bo. There's no sandhi between that and the word that comes after them. This is yet another one that you will just internalize with ease. Okay, so here are some of these separate examples that Guy Levitt gives that I think are really helpful. So if you have two fires, it would be Agni. The two fires right here, Agni Atra. Here, you'll notice we're not putting the ya in at all. We're not going to put the va in with v. We're not going to take that retroflex re and make it ra. When you see dual voice, so in the dual case, and I'm realizing over and over again how clear Goldman is after you've read Goldman all the way through. But I think there would be a way that you could teach this sandhi sort of steadily in like little chunks while teaching other parts of grammar. Because I keep having to say things like, in the dual voice. Like, well, we haven't looked at the dual voice. I know, but here, learn this example about dual voice that you don't know what it is. So there is a ridiculousness there. I apologize for it. So Agni plus Atra. This is what you just remember. Two fires, Agni, Atra, we've seen several times before, which means here. There's no sandhi. Agni, Atra, they just remain. Bandhu, Eva, like two bindings. So that's still bandhu. So the dual there, bandhu, bandhu like a banda, like a lock, like when you're doing pranayama, a lock, a binding. Bandhu, Eva, like two bindings, no sandhi. Netre ape, two eyes, netre api. Uppy means but or and. Netre, uppy. Nothing. You just leave those alone. In interjection particles, Guy Levitt gives you the classic, ha, Arjuna, or hey, Arjuna, or bo, Arjuna. All of those with these interjection particles that are, really like saying, it's almost exactly the same as when I say, hey, Bree, read that thing. It's almost exactly the same as saying, hey, Arjuna, go get up on that field and kill your enemies. So I went through before and I gave you a bunch of roots, and I found this, and you'll have this PowerPoint to work from. This is a great set of dhatus, of linguistics sort of roots for Sanskrit that I just want you to be aware of, and you can look at it at some point. Come on, go to the next one. Come on. Okay. If you want more resources on Vowel Sandhi, I looked, and you have Goldman's site. It's right here. At Maurer's site and Guy Levitt's site that doesn't actually have a lot of doesn't have a lot of stuff on it because so much of it is set to private. But if you look to this section from Goldman's site on Sandhi rules, there's a number of really useful tools and sort of depictions of Sandhi. I just feel like you need to see as much as possible. And when we get to the end of this chapter, I'm going to do something sort of surprising to you, and I'm going to give you a Sandhi chart. And in this chart, it will organize all of these Sandhi rules. Now, why am I not giving it to you right now? Because if you start with just looking at the chart and not getting exposure to these rules, you'll never actually learn Sandhi well. Okay, so what we're moving here, and I just want to, and we're not, this will be the last thing we get to today, is we're going to do more with Sandhi per se. Is there a question up here? Yes, the link's in the chat. Yada. Okay, so what we're going to find with Sandhi is you have an initial sound and a final sound. So the final sound would be the last word in the element. So bahu, eva. Bahu would be the initial sound. Eva would be Eva would be the final sound. Bahu would be, who would be the initial sound. And then you also have the absolute final. The absolute final is the end of a sentence or a compound. Now, vowels can be, all right, I'm not explaining this well. Here's the thing. In a Sanskrit sentence, there are only a few sounds that can actually come at the end of a word. If you see me looking outside, it's because there's like 2 unmarked cop cars outside my house now. And I don't think it's because I'm getting busted for anything. All right, so in the end of a sentence, you can have a number of sounds, or even at the end of a word as well. You can have a vowel of any type. You can have a visarga. You can have a nasal, like a or an You can have, but there are all these other changes that will occur depending on the type of word that comes after another word. So I'm just not happy with the way I'm explaining this. All right, the end of a word will change based on the word that comes after it. There are only a few set amounts of sounds that are allowed to come at the end of a word without making any changes. We're going to look at some of those as we move forward. But as we move forward, there's a thing we need to be aware of. And that's what's called voicing and aspiration. So voicing means when you, it's a linguistic term for how your mouth resonates. So a voiced sound has a buzz when you say it. So where's this thing? So if you look here, these are unvoiced. So if I put my hand right here in my throat and I say ka, 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 nothing. But if I go ga, ga, na, there's a vibration. So go back here, and I want you to, each and every one of you, put your 2 little fingers below your Adam's apple, just above your kind of your clavicle, just above that little death spot where you never want to get punched. And say with me, ka, ka, ga, ga, na. Now the next one, and I want you to really say it along with me and feel for the vibration in your throat. Cha, 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 na, ka, ka, da, da, na. So you'll notice you can feel a little buzz regardless, but if there's a big buzz in the ones that are considered voiced versus voiceless. Ta, ta, da, da, na. It took me forever to understand this voiced, voiceless thing until I had a linguist just explain it that way to me. Pa, pa, ba, ba, ma. Now, you have some other kind of confusing ones. What are some other unvoiced sounds? Sha, sha, sa, ha, and la. And here are some voiced ones. Ya, ra, la, va. So ga, ga, na, cha, cha, na, da, da, na, da, da, na, ba, ba, ma. So when you're reading in Goldman, he's going to talk a lot about voiced consonants or non-voiced consonants. So what I just showed you here are what are voiced and what are unvoiced. Now, if you go to Goldman and you open up to page, Everybody do this. Grab your Goldman book. I know we're right at the end of class. Go to page, come on, Aaron. Where are we? Go to page 13. If you're on page 13, you'll see your list of alphabets, of your syllabary. And you'll see that above the, like say the kantyas, you see kantya, ka, ka, ga, ga. Above it, you see V minus, and then A minus, and then V minus, and then A plus. What is That means aspirated. So aspirated is your duh, your guh, your guh, your cha. When the puff of air comes up, your ta versus ta and ba versus ba. So when you're studying Goldman and we're talking about absolute finals, you're going to need to be aware that he's going to be talking about voiced things and unvoiced things. For that, just one second, Atlas. For that, you either have to instantly remember where it buzzes in your mouth or go back to the chart. One trick I always use is to like make copies and blank them out like that. Say like unvoiced and voiced. Or I would write out the alphabet and put the unvoiced in one color and then the voiced in another color. And then I would just write at the top of that voiced and unvoiced. And that would be the thing I would look at every time. Okay, yes, Atlas. Atlas, you had a question? Are you out there, Atlas? Okay. Does anybody, so, all right, so we're going to pause there. And what we're going to do for the next time is we're going to talk about visargas and how you end sentences or words using visargas. Again, do not try to memorize all of this. Get familiarity with it. Now, I wanted to tell you a story at the end of class here. When I was first studying Sanskrit and my buddy Michael Jerryson and I were in class, we were both very excited to learn Sanskrit. Michael, because he had a certain linguistic acumen that it really appealed to. Me, because I'd waited my whole life to study Sanskrit. They didn't offer it my undergraduate. I worked my way through Teach Yourself Sanskrit. It was freaking brutal. It was hard. I didn't really learn much Sanskrit. What we did was we each took note cards and we took every example from Goldman. And we would write on one side of the note card, would say like, here's a simple one, would just say Lambodara. And on the back of it, it would say Lamba Udara. And when I would run into him in campus, as we were both teaching, going from class to class, I would pull out one of the note cards, or he would pull out one of his note cards, and we'd have to look and see like the finished thing, like Lambodara, and say Lamba Udara, plus U equals O. Now, I don't know if that ever really helped. It helped him, but I don't think those ever really stuck in my head that way. What helped me was just reading widely. What I would suggest for you, because you do have a Sandhi homework coming up on Thursday, which is only on Vowel Sandhi. We've been through all of that today, is I would recommend you practice speaking out and writing out the examples from Goldman that I've given you here, or the examples from Guy Levitt. I think those are easier, but they're a little less semantically relevant, I guess. I would practice writing them out and practice writing choppy, C, long A, P-I, and then after it, C, short A, long A, P-I. Just if you practice choppy, cha-uppy, Mahesha, Maha-isha, that's what I think gets it in your head. And as you do that, and I made this error for too long in Sanskrit, I would just write them out. Speak as you write, because you want to get in your head, not A plus E equals A formula, you want a plus e equals a sound. So your head should look and go Mahesha, Maha-isha. And if you internalize Mahesha, Maha-isha, then you'll be able to later, when you see a word and you see that eh sound in the middle, you go, oh, that could be an plus an e that's become an eh. Sandhi is difficult when you first experience it. Once you've got this all in your head and you have more reading practice, you're going to find it to be not unlike conjunct consonants or really hard when you first encounter them. But when you get more experience with them, you are going to just intuit a lot of these things. And when they're connected to vocabulary, like Mahesha, Maha-isha, Lambodara, lapping belly, Lamba Udara, when you get those vocabularies attached to it, the semantic value, you'll find that it sticks in your head a lot better. All right, y'all, that's Sandhi. I must honestly say, this is hard to teach. Dr. Williams has done this for 8 years. This is actually the section that I have dreaded the most teaching you, because for me, the hardest thing in Sanskrit for the first couple of years were 2 elements. Sandhi, and I can tell you, I spent a long time going, what are the words? I need to know what the words, I can't look up the words until I know what the words are. Now that's not a problem at all. Sandhi is elegant. It's actually kind of lovely, but it just takes experience. And I'm trying to teach this the best way I can by working through these examples, and I'm learning as I go. But I have to admit to you, this is the chapter I've been dreading. We get to chapter 4 and I'm great. I have tons of ways to teach that. But this one, it's really hard. And as Dr. Williams has said, first year Sanskrit is its own beast, because you're going from nothing to something. That's difficult. And as we move a little bit further along, the other thing you're going to find is you're going to have to relearn English grammar. Not a different English grammar. It's just you're going to have to learn it deeper than you knew it before in order to learn the Sanskrit grammar. You'll see what I mean in the future. There's a classic story about a bald pundit. And this bald pundit was approached and somebody said, Panditji, you used to have such beautiful hair. What has happened to you? And he said, my hair has fallen out, just as my students have left my Gurukul, the place where the guru teaches. And they said, why would your hair fall out as your students have left? He goes, first there was Sandhi, then there was nanos. And he pulled his hair out as his students left, trying to teach him. So I'm going to try to keep my hair on my head, and y'all are going to keep studying Sanskrit. We got this. On Thursday, some of you have said that you might want to have a meeting with me on Friday. I'm open to that. We'll just have to set a time. Let's see where you're at the end of the Thursday course. But at the end of Thursday, I think we are going to be through Sandhi enough that we can take a deep breath and move forward. Until then, you have a final script worksheet that will be due next week, and you have a Sandhi vowel worksheet due on Thursday. And the fun thing about that is we can just work through it in class. All right. I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Does anybody need to speak with me about anything?
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
You got this. I support you. I'm on your side. We're going to get this. You are all going to become Sanskrit Wallas very soon. Take care,
Thank
everybody.
you.
I'm going to go take a nap.
Thank you.
Maybe drink a beer.
Thank you.